to the Marketing Nomad Show, the fun pit stop for all things Instagram, where I also share my entrepreneurial journey, some of my lessons, wins, and challenges along the way, so it can inspire you to get started and grow on Instagram as well. Welcome back to the Marketing Nomad Show, guys. I hope you guys are doing super awesome and you are also staying safe. All right, guys, today is going to be a different kind of episode. All right, today I'm going to be talking about my worst relationship and how that has changed the way I do business today. And it's all related because, as you guys know, on this podcast, I talk a little bit about my journey as a CEO, and I also talk about growing on Instagram as well. So today we're going to talk about the CEO aspect of my life and how this one relationship has actually changed the way I carry myself, the way I do my deal my professional life, I guess, deal with my professional life as a CEO of a company. Okay, so a little bit of a backstory. I'm probably gonna get emotional at some point, so heads up, guys. Okay, so a little bit of a backstory. Now, I'm going to tell you guys this because it's not that I want your pity or something, but I think I want you to understand the magnitude when I say that this was my worst relationships, because believe me, guys, I have been through a lot, okay? Emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, and then, I don't know, the guy cheating, all of those things. Been through it, guys, okay? And if I have to say that this particular relationship supersedes all of that, it definitely means something, okay? So today we're going to talk about this particular relationship, and the reason why it's the worst, or one of the reasons why it was the worst, was because, on the contrary, I was a person who was not treating this said other person the right way, okay? So every single mistake that I could have possibly made, I did it, okay? And I'm probably gonna cringe so much just even telling you guys about this, but I definitely feel like that entire relationship has transformed me in ways you can't even imagine. So yes, here I go, guys. So let me tell you a little bit about the relationship and how it went. So this person was amazing, all right? Beyond amazing. I don't even have the words for it, okay? I thought I loved this person, but it turns out that I didn't, okay? So I was flaky when this person needed me to tell them like words of encouragement. Sorry, what's up with me? When this person wanted me to kind of tell them some words of encouragement, I was very spiteful, okay? When they needed me to comfort them, I just walked away. When they needed my help, I refused to give in. When, it's crazy, guys. It's so cringy that I'm even saying all of this, but it is true. It was probably the biggest mistake that I made. It is the biggest mistake that I have ever made in my life. So this person was there for me, and I neglected them. I just did. They were so understanding to, who I was, and I just didn't know how to handle them, all right? I put my own needs before theirs. I refused to be a normal person. In fact, I was the toxic person in this relationship. And I put that person through a lot. Unnecessary things, like I put them in unwanted situations, toxic situations. I don't know, it was just, it was crazy, guys. It was, in hindsight, Yeah, no. Okay. So, for those of you who want to know who that person is, well, that person was me. All right? For a very, very long time in my life, every time I needed words of encouragement, I would just walk away. Okay? Every time I needed extra care, extra self-love, I refused to give in. I voluntarily put myself in toxic situations despite myself knowing that it was wrong for me. All right? And for the longest time, I didn't know how to love myself. I did not. I did not understand what it meant. I did not understand why I was supposed to show myself love. I didn't know how to even show that. All right? So for the longest time, I kept putting myself in toxic situations. I kept accepting people's bad behavior towards me because I did not put myself on a pedestal. In fact, I was way, way below the ground. And I feel like that was the biggest mistake that I made for a very long time in my life. It spans over 25 years of my life. And it took me a long time. It took me, I don't know, a lot of heartbreaks, a lot of moments where I felt completely defeated for me to understand that there was something wrong in this equation with myself. All right? There was something wrong that I really needed to change. I really needed to fix. And it wasn't until I think a good 2 or 3 years ago that I started to realize how important self-love was. And, you know, at the back of my head, all through the years, like all the previous years and stuff like that, I mean, I knew, yes, well, everybody talks about self-love, and yes, you have to care for yourself, but how? Like, what is it that you do? How do you go about it? How do you show? And there are so many ways that you actually overlook, you know, and there's so many ways that you think that you're giving self-love to yourself, but no, it doesn't end up that way. You're actually harming yourself more. And it took me a very long time. It took me almost 10 years of self-sabotage, of, I don't know, putting myself in crappy situations for me to realize that, look, I needed to change the way I was with myself. So this started about 3 years ago, and the journey so far, I'm still a work in progress, but the journey in the last 3 years has transformed my life in ways I can't even tell you, all right? Including the way I handle my personal life, including the way I handle my professional life. And I will give you instances about this as well as we talk further on. But first, let me tell you how I'm at a place where, for the most part, for 99% of the time, I can say with confidence that I love myself unconditionally. Even that 1% that I'm talking about, it's always, you know, I snap myself back out of it very, very quickly. But for the most part, I'm there. And this journey of self-love has taken me a lot of time. It has taken me immense amount of courage, like, I don't know, soul-breaking courage, to get to a point where I can tell you, you know, look you right in the eye and tell you, hey, I'm putting myself first. And yeah, so basically that's that. And we're going to get to a point where, let me talk to you about how I managed to come here. So the first step that I did was to realize that I wasn't even loving myself. Like, realizing that itself took me a good 10 years, all right? When I kept asking myself, why is there so much drama in my life? Why is there so much toxicity? Like, why? I would never get an answer. And it was, I don't know how it was, but it was like such a light bulb moment. I think this was in, 2017, 18, around that time. And it was such a light bulb moment that, do I love myself? Like, is that something that I am doing actively? And I think that's something that most people don't realize. It is something that every single moment of your life, every single second, you need to be checking in with yourself. You need to be letting yourself know, hey, am I, going against who I am as a person? Am I, suppressing who I am as a person? Am I not showing self-love to myself in this very particular moment? And it takes a lot of conscious effort to not do that. All right, so this has been a 3-year journey, to be very honest with you. It has been a 3-year long journey. And the first thing that I did, as I told you, was I realized that no, I need to make a change. I need to learn how to love myself. So the first obstacle that I needed to get over was loving the way I looked. Oh God, that has been such a process. That has been a tremendously uphill process, I have to say. So first I learned, what were my trigger points. I learned what were the areas that I was lacking in when it came to self-love with respect to my physical aspect, with respect to maybe those anxious moments that I had, and I would just choose to brush it off, or I would choose to get frustrated with myself. Those were moments that I actually caught myself doing, and I kept telling myself, no, I can't be doing that anymore. I need to show myself more love. I need to be more forgiving to myself. Every time I made a mistake, I would beat myself up. It was just nuts. But over time, I was able to calm myself down. I was able to tell, no, I made a mistake. That's okay. How do we fix this? Let's work together. And I think that also helped me a lot. Like thinking of myself as a third person instead of just one with me really helped me understand the areas that I was not, up to my mark in showing my self-love. Because when you start thinking of yourself as another person, you start to think, well, if this was my best friend and someone said this to her, how would I feel? And it was through things like that I realized that even in the most subtle moments, like even in moments that I thought, oh, I was giving myself a lot of self-love, I wasn't. And in the 3 years that have gone by with this conscious effort of self-love, I've come to a place where I can recognize it right off the bat, and I can immediately tell myself, no, you're doing something wrong. Flip back. Go back to your normal route of self-love. And I feel like that's such a core part of who I am and how I conduct myself when it comes to my business. Now let's take a short break from our podcast episode and hear from our sponsors. This podcast episode is sponsored by the InstaSavvy Tribe, a paid monthly membership that gives you the technique, the game plan, and the mentorship to help you grow a quality following on Instagram, bring in those leads, and eventually make sales. TIST releases multiple topics every single month, ranging from planning your content strategy to creating a sales funnel using Instagram. This is so that you can fearlessly grow your business and gain that financial freedom you've been working so hard for. If you're interested to learn more, log on to www.themarketingnomad.co/TIST. If you're looking to accelerate your growth on Instagram with TIST, use coupon code podcast10 to get a 10% discount off the yearly plan for TIST. This is available exclusively for my podcast listeners. Now let's get back to our episode. All right, a huge part of self-love was accepting who I was as a person, with my dark spots or with a little bit of flab that I have probably in some places that you probably can't see on the camera, with accepting my weaknesses, accepting my strengths and being proud of my strengths, because that was something that I never was. And all of those things combined, and it has made me a much stronger person when it comes to handling my business. When you are the CEO of your own company, there are a lot of things that will break you probably every single hour. I'm not even kidding, I'm not exaggerating. There are things that will make you so low. There are mistakes that you are going to be making. Very, very honestly. You will be making mistakes. It's not something that, you can protect yourself. But it is in those moments of how you react to it, of how you treat yourself, that changes the course of how you look at the situation. And this is something that has been so profoundly, eye-opening in my case. Oh, sorry, that was my alarm for the computer. So let's detract a bit. Okay. I actually have a problem with drinking water. Okay, that's like a problem for me. So I've set the alarm on my laptop to kind of sound every hour. So every hour, it reminds me to actually drink water. It's really, really silly, but honestly, guys, it has worked so well. Like, that just gives me enough time to take a second to take a break from work and just drink water. So yeah, that's the 5 o'clock alarm that you just heard. It's not even an alarm, it just tells me the time. And I feel like that's also helped me a lot with my productivity, because I am conscious of every hour that is going by. All right, we kind of sidetracked a bit, but let's get back. Okay, where was I? Okay, yes, so practicing this self-love for the last 3 years has actually had such a profound impact on my business. All right, in the way I talk to myself, in the way I talk to other people, in the way I handle situations where maybe someone is copying my work, or someone is trying to sabotage my work and trying to sell it off as their own. It has happened before. All right, in the ways that I react to situations that occur every single moment, probably every 2 hours, there's a new thing that I need to handle. And even as a CEO, you do make mistakes, whether it is, something that is not seen to public, but you do make mistakes on your own. And sometimes who you are as a person really changes the way you react. And for me, self-love is one of the biggest foundations that I can give when it comes to staying positive as a CEO, staying motivated, and just keeping that positive atmosphere, that motivation. Did I say motivation? I think I said motivation. But yes, that positive mindset, which is really, really difficult because, like I said, it's a pretty lonely job being a CEO. And don't get me wrong, I love it. I love every second of it. But like I said, it does get lonely. And when you are in that position where, the only person that you are spending time with is yourself, you need to be very, very careful and very, very aware of what you are saying to yourself, how you are behaving with yourself. That is so important, and I cannot stress on that enough. All right? The words that you say, the thoughts that you have about yourself, about your strengths, about your weaknesses, the way you pride yourself with your strengths, or the way you handle your weaknesses or find ways to navigate around your weaknesses, these are all important things. These are all so important, and they come under self-love. If the relationship between you and yourself is not okay, you can't expect to have a proper relationship with anyone, be it your family, be it your loved one, be it, your spouse, or be it a business relationship. You can't. And it wasn't until I was at peace with myself and I was at a point where I said, no, I love myself unconditionally, regardless of whether I put on 10 kgs tomorrow, or whether, I have another failure in my business or something like that, though I don't personally consider failures to be failures, but whatever, a shortcoming or a pitfall or whatnot. I have learned to accept who I am as a person, very, very fundamentally. And that's, I think, what I wanted to say in this episode. The way you talk to yourself has to be a conscious effort. All right. When, you're the CEO, there will be a lot of times where you feel like you need to put someone else's needs before yours. And sometimes, yes, the occasion demands for it. But other times, when your mental health is at stake, you need to learn how to put your foot down. And you don't get the courage to put your foot down unless you know when to put your foot down. And you don't know when to put your foot down when you don't have self-love, when you don't recognize it, when you don't know how to recognize it. And I feel like I want to give you guys like an example right now, all right? This is completely unscripted. I feel like I talk best when I'm unscripted, though I probably am more structured in my thoughts when it's all written down. But I prefer it this way. I mean, let me know if you guys like it. I will definitely continue to do unscripted conversations, because to me, this feels like I'm talking to a friend rather than, me reading off a sheet of paper. And while I can modulate my voice and make it sound like I'm not reading, I like that there's a different way of flow of thought that goes into an unscripted podcast episode. So let me know what you guys think, all right? Okay, so yes, I think one of the examples that I can give you was there was a time when I first started out when I was completely messing up my sleep schedule. God, what is up with my words? Okay, when I was completely messing up with my sleep schedule, and I was basically putting my potential clients' needs over mine. And at that point, I feel like I was coming from a place of fear, like if I don't cater to their time, I'm going to lose them as a client. And that was so not true. It took me a month of being frustrated and, realizing that I was not putting myself first for me to understand that as a CEO of a company, I need to first be in the right mental state to be even able to take on clients or to run my business. So that's when I started creating a proper schedule for myself. While I did cater to their times, it wasn't me going out of my way, like waking up at 2 a.m. or waking up at 3 a.m., which I frankly see a lot of my peers do. And I look at them and I say, well, maybe you have to take a second and think if it is worth it. Yes, if it were for a client or whatnot, maybe you can reschedule it to a point where it's not you going way out of your way and ruining your physical health, ruining your mental health and stuff like that. So you have to ask yourself, am I working from a place of fear? And for me, yes, I was working from a place of fear. And that's when I really decided to take a step back and keep myself as priority, formulate an entire schedule around what worked for me. And you know what the best part was? No one seemed to notice that the cycle or the schedule was catered to me. They were very, very happy with the time slots that I'd given them because, like I told you, I kept them in mind, right? So I had kept them in mind, but I'd found the perfect balance to make sure that I wasn't messing my own health for anyone else. And that worked perfectly, and it is working perfectly. There are days in my week where I schedule only for my clients. There are other days where I specifically schedule for potential clients. And that just helps me give more of my time to what's important. It also helps me prioritize what's important to me as well. So yes, I think a huge part of this journey is realizing that there is no one else supporting you, all right? You are alone in this. And I think you should have probably realized this before you got into this, and I know that you probably know it as well, but just reaffirming that there is no one else supporting you in this. You are your biggest cheerleader, or at least you have to be. You need to be motivating enough to be your 100% self out there. You need to be your biggest cheerleader. I think there is no other way that I need to put it, or I can put it. So yeah, one of the ways that really helped me, and I'm going to give you guys 3 actionable steps and then we will wrap this episode up. But 3 actionable steps that I personally took was, I think the first one was journaling. Spending some time every day in the morning or in the night, depends on your preference, or you can even do both. When I first started out, I was journaling, I probably think every 4 or 5 hours. Just that there was a lot of things that I needed to work through. So every time I was feeling overwhelmed, I would journal and I would write down my thoughts, and it just helped me face my thoughts a lot better when it was on paper. So journaling is definitely something that I highly recommend. All right, if you are in this process of self-love and putting yourself first, journaling. Okay, write down whatever comes to your mind. And at this point today, I think I'm at a point where I write in the morning. I spend about a good 20 minutes writing all my thoughts down. And there are days where, some days are more challenging than the rest, right? So those days, yes, I do take some time, 20 minutes in the night, to journal as well. So there's no right or wrong, to be honest. And there is no such thing that, oh my God, I only journal once, so I must be super awesome. No, it doesn't work like that. But it's just about how the day goes. It's just about how you have handled that day or your thoughts for that day and stuff like that. So yes, journaling really, really helped. The second thing was just being conscious of the way I spoke to myself. Like every time I said, well, what are you doing to yourself? And then I'd be like, no, I can't talk to myself like that. No, that's just wrong. And then I would backtrack and then I would actually apologize to myself. I was like, sorry, that was completely out of place. And just even having those conversations in my mind just helped me understand that I was giving love to myself. That's it. It was just as simple as that. And I feel like another thing that I personally did was to go through a lot of videos on self-love and, understanding the key moments where you need a little more self-love. Okay. And that I feel was the biggest game changer. So definitely, go on YouTube, check out other podcast episodes on this, and take some time to truly understand what self-love is. Figure out the places or the moments where you feel like you are lacking in that sometimes, and give yourself a little bit of love during those times as well. So yeah, guys, this was a bit of a different episode, but I cannot stress on how important it is to actually, be one with yourself before you start a company. You can't start a company when you are not at peace with yourself, when you are not giving yourself that kind of self-love, because very soon you are going to crash and burn. Like if you do not truly understand who you are, what your desires are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, you can't. And yes, I think I want to end this episode by telling that this is an ever-evolving process. The girl I was, or the woman I was yesterday, is not the woman I am today. There's always something new I learn about myself. There's something more that I need to readjust and understand and work around as I evolve as a person as well. And understanding that is key. Being patient with yourself as you work through whatever it is that you're working through is also equally important. All right, guys, that brings me to the end of this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really wish you all the very best with your journey with self-love as well. Trust me, guys, when you start on this journey, it is going to transform your life as it has for mine. And like I said, I'm still a work in progress, definitely, even though I am at a point where, yes, there are people I have removed from my life because of, the slightest sign of toxicity, and that's it, they're out. And it took me 10 years to build to that courage. It did take me 10 years. So, and even as I'm saying, or as I'm shooting this video, there are things that are still work in progress for me. So I think one of the biggest thing is understanding that this is the journey. This is the journey to self-love. And You just have to be patient and just shower yourself with a lot of love. All right, guys, that actually officially brings me to the end of this episode. If you've been listening to this episode and you really like this episode, don't forget to give me a review. I definitely need a ton of those. I enjoy reading them as well. And if you are new, please consider subscribing to this podcast so you won't miss another episode of mine. If you are one of my frequent listeners, you know I love you. All right, guys, I will catch you later. Talk soon. Bye.